A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mamane and I warmly welcome all of you to StudyIQ. It's a beautiful morning today and let's start our day with a positive statement. Being aware of your fear is smart. Overcoming it is the mark of a successful person. Now relate this thing with yesterday's comments, right? Yesterday's video, I have got many positive comments. Many of you have decided to get rid of the fear or laziness or shyness. Basically all these things are associated with lack of courage, and the more and more courageous act you do, a day will come when you will become a sort of fearless person in practical sense. Anyways, I believe that most of you have got what I am trying to say here. With this, dear friends, let's move ahead, and I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses. For different exams, StudyIQ provides pen drive and tablet courses, and to know more about it, just check out StudyIQ.com. With this, the first editorial that we have is pertaining to GST and Evea Bill. We have talked about Evea Bill. It was in as a news form, right? Evea. But before moving to Evea, what Evea is all about, let me clarify one thing. You have two things here. One is interstate and the other thing is intrastate. Now what is the basic difference between interstate trade and intrastate trade? Interstate trade means trade taking place between more than one state, right? So say for example Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, right, doing trade with each other. It falls under the category of interstate trade, and intrastate is basically Maharashtra. So western part of Maharashtra, a businessman called A or businesswoman called A is dealing with a businesswoman or businessman called B, but both of them are located within the political boundary of the state of Madhya Pradesh. So this is intrastate trade. So I hope this is clear. Now let's see what we have got. Evea Bill. Basically Evea Bill falls under GST, right? Goods and Service Tax. And as per so far what has came out from this GST meeting, from 1st February, right, all interstate movement of goods worth over 50,000 rupees, right? Remember the figure, it is 50,000 and it pertains to this interstate movement of goods worth over 50,000 rupees will be tracked with the introduction of the Evea Bill system. So how it will work, say for example you are a trader called A. Now you want to send something to B who is located in Kerala. You are here in Madhya Pradesh, say for example. So the goods that you are sending to this buyer B, right, if it's more than 50,000 rupees, then you have to first of all go to this GST network, and then you have to get this Evea Bill number from this GST network. Everything will be done online. As far as I know, on the spot, right, on real-time basis, it will generate a number. You can have that number on your bill, and then you have to pass this bill to this transport. If you have your own trucks, then your driver will carry that bill, or if you are hiring someone else services, then you have to pass this to this transport service as well. And anytime in between on the road, right, this government officials, GST officials, they can check the goods that are being transported, and at that point of time you have to produce this Evea Bill, and this receiver as well has to have this number and things like that. So this is how it is going to work. This is a very rough picture of, I hope this is clear as well. Apart from that, all the consignments moving, say for example more than 10 kilometer, right, they too need to have this Evea Bill. So this intra-state as well as interstate trade will require this Evea Bill as far as it's not below 10 kilometer. Now you can understand it is going to be a bit difficult for the GST network, or not GST network, but for the government to keep an eye on this Evea Bill. How can you, or how you are going to keep an eye on something that is below 10 kilometer? Of course, you can argue that the business registration of business from one place to other, like you know that A is registered at say for example West Delhi and B is in the East Delhi, so you know the distance is more than 10 kilometers and things like that. But again, there are many traders who are a bit skeptical about it. They are worried about how this is going to turn out. And regarding intrastate, the deadline is June 1. So you have two different deadlines. For interstate it is February 1, and this intrastate it is going to be June 1. So clearly there is going to be some mismatch, right? But the good side is that with the introduction of Evea bills, you cannot skip or you cannot evade taxes, and of course the revenue of government is going to go up. So far the experience of Karnataka's implementation of Evea bill has produced some positive results. Hopefully if we can replicate what we have learned from Karnataka so far, and if we ensure that IT backbone is robust, and if we ensure that we are able to educate all these businesses pertaining to this Evea bill, if everything is clear and simple, then things can be much more easier and implementation can be easier as well, and whatever the benefits that we can get from it will be, or the targets will be achieved. But one thing, as I told you earlier on, that GST council of GST officials, right, they would be able to check trucks. This should be a very random thing rather than something that is, we don't want to see this GST officials chasing different trucks and lorries on highways, right? We don't want that scenario. We want that of course they have all the right to do the checkings, but we want it that is not means too much of enforcement is not good. We have to create a system so that as less possible, or you can say as minimum as possible, people can evade taxes, right? So that's everything regarding it. Of course in near future we are going to hear some more things about it. With this one of the most important article in today's Hindu is pertaining to terrorism. This one is written by former National Security Advisor, and as I have told you earlier, and now I'm sure you know it very well, that it is going to be, the points that we are going to get out of it are going to be very important. Now what this article is talking about is that we find less theology in today's terrorism as well as terrorist organizations. Now I'm sure most of you would be aware about theology. Theology basically means you know, this books and literature that is pertaining to any particular religion. So this thing is bit going away or fading away, right? And new ways of attracting people is coming in. I was going through some reports back like 5-6 months ago. I was reading a very interesting book written by it was a compilation of essays, right, written by security experts like RAW chief and IB chief and other important people who have worked in this terrorist and things like that. So they have one thing that I got from that book was basically that with terrorism, right, many people, many youngsters are joining these organizations for fun, for fun as well as for recognition. They believe, see, if you go back in the history of humanity, then you will find that bravery is always respected, right? Bravery is always but this thing, I'm not saying that being a terrorist is a brave act, not at all. It is one of the most foolish thing that you can ever do. So what these boys and girls, what they think is that when they will join this sort of organization, people will recognize them, and if they can play around with guns and weapons and things like that, then this is something that is bravery. And this sense of enjoyment that they get, they are not getting it from normal life, right, that we all are living. So this is one of the main reasons. So theology is going away a little bit. Anyways, now this new age of terrorism, right, it belongs to all different sort of genre, as you can understand, as I have given you one example on it. And the way things are executed is, we have seen you can say drastic change in how terrorist attacks are taking place nowadays. Particularly, it all started with this Paris attack of Charlie Hebdo office, and since then we have seen a rise of lone wolf, right? Lone wolf attacks have gone up. We have seen the use of normal vehicles in different cities, in Brussels and Istanbul and Nice and London, Stockholm, Barcelona, New York, and other parts of the world as well. And the rise of ISIS, of course, it has gone down, or it is on its verge of extinction when we talk about Iraq. But nowadays, with the help of this social media, we know it very well that ISIS is not something that is it is not about their physical location, right? It is about their mental location. Now, many young boys and girls around the world, we see that they are ready to be part of this whole game of terrorism, and many of them are ready to execute this sort of acts as well. And ISIS has also promoted this nihilism. Nihilism basically means that nothing in this world is, nothing is good at all. So you don't care about anything. This is called nihilism. You don't care about society. You don't care about anything, right? Whatever things that we normal human beings think that these things are important. Under this philosophy of nihilism, nothing is important at all. You can destroy whatever you like. Nothing is going to happen to you and things like that. And they are also doing this direct to home jihad. This I have termed personally as terror process outsourcing. What they are doing is they are brainwashing youngsters, right? They have different sort of you can say tricks, right? If someone is religious, then they will give them these religious quotations and things like that. Of course, the false one, they will say, if you do this and this, then you will go to heaven and you will get this and that in heaven and things like that. If someone is, if they find these people are very, I'm not say smart, but they know how to exploit these youngsters, right? They are very well aware about, they know how to exploit them and how to brainwash them. And one more thing that you will observe here is that their family members of these handlers, right? Their family members are living a very good life. But they want to destroy someone else's family. So this is how it is working here. And this does not mean that the older ways are less effective, not at all. They are also active. So we are having a very, you can say, a delicate situation here. We have a new way of executive things, as well as on the other side we have older organizations and methods going on, like wearing a suicide vest and then attacking someone and things like that. So these things are going on as well. And the latest example that we have in front of us is about Egypt. We talked about this thing. It was as a news item. More than 230 people have died due to a suicide. Attacker attacked a Sufi shrine in Egypt, in Sinai desert. So these are the things that are going on. And the intelligence agencies, right, they have drastically changed as well, of course for good. They are using all these latest technologies and things like that. You deploy your drones and radios, and you have your the satellites, and there are many other things, right? All these gadgets that we generally speaking find in James Bond's movies and things like that. But the most complicated thing, or the biggest challenge when it comes to terrorism, is that first of all, terrorist, and there is a basic difference between terrorist and terrorism, which is not mentioned here, but I would like to clarify it. I believe this will add more sort of in-depth understanding. Terrorism is an ideology, right? It is a sort of an idea. So for killing an idea, you have to deal with it on the level of idea. So that is one of the reasons why many times when you hear Dalai Lama and other spiritual leaders, or you also hear from many many famous people, right? Of course, when I say famous, I mean to say that there is something in them, because of that they are there. So what they say is it is love, and we feel that how can you, someone who is holding a gun in his or her hand, how can you approach them with love? The thing is, here we are making a mistake of understanding the situation. A person who is holding a gun, if he is bursting fires, then the only way to deal with that person is with the gun, right? So when it comes to terrorists, right, terrorist is a physical person, so for that you have to use physical forces. But when it comes to mental forces, then you have to spread love, you have to spread fraternity, you have to create a scenario in the society that you don't hate someone, right? And this should not create like racism, and many times it ends up in taking a revenge and things like that. And these are the situations, the cracks that we have in our society. These are opportunities for terrorist organization. And one of the most complicated thing nowadays when it comes to dealing with terrorism is that every situation is different, right? You don't have any fixed rules nowadays that you have to do this and that. Every situation is different, and this itself makes it one of the most challenging job in the world, right? Intelligence gathering and things like that. And there are many people who blame, who are saying that there is intelligence failure. Just in case if we have any sort of terrorist attack, then there are many groups in the society who say that this is because of intelligence failure. Now, there is a difference between intelligence failure and intelligence gap as well. Intelligence failure basically means that you were knowing that something is going to happen, or you were knowing precisely what was going to happen, but then as well you were not able to, or you did not, for whatever reason, pass that information to the relevant office or department. This is intelligence failure. Now, intelligence gap basically means that the things that took place, you were totally unaware about that, right? So this is called intelligence gap, that something was in the gray area or in your blind spot. You were not able to identify it or detect it. And this can happen. This is something that can happen. There is nothing that you can do about it. So anyways, the solution is intelligence sharing between different countries. This is the only way we can fight terrorism and terrorists, you can say, because the way they are working in sync with each other, different organizations, right? If they need weapons and money and things like that, then they are working. They have basic differences, but end of the day, they know that if they stick with each other, then only they can survive. But the countries, they are having different problems. So this is the reason why we get this sort of things. Because in Mumbai 2008 as well, there were certain foreign intelligence agency, they were knowing about this thing, but we never got information from them. With this, dear friends, this one, the rest of the articles, apart from European one, nothing much in it, so we can quickly get over it. This one is about the message in the verdict. It is about the result of Gujarat Assembly election, right? BJP has got 99 out of 182, and it indicates that people are not that happy, right? The people who have last time given their vote to BJP, now they have opted to give some vote to Congress. So we can see there is a rise of Congress and a bit of fall of BJP, and there is a hidden message as per this article for Congress as well as the country, that if you don't perform or if you are not able to sort out situation, then of course you are going to be outdated. So this is the thing, and clearly the things in which BJP has failed when it comes to Gujarat is they are not able to look after this agrarian distress. There are many farmers who are complaining about minimum support price, and when it comes to social sector, education and health, still things are not up to the mark. And job creation, after all this agitation of partidar agitation, right, it's not when it all started, if you go in the root of this patidar agitation, it's not about any particular community, it is about jobs, right? People are looking for secure jobs. This is one of the reasons why we do observe nowadays that lots and lots of young boys and girls, right, they want to join a government organization, because in our country nearly 6 to 7% of jobs fall under the category of formal jobs. Rest of the jobs are informal, and of course, needless to say, within this 6 to 7% you have all the government jobs, right? May it be class 4 job or class 1 job, everything falls under government jobs. They fall under this formal sector. So this is one of the reason why boys and girls want to join this, and when they are not able to find jobs, then you find this sort of agitations in society. With this, dear friends, this one is about Europe, how things are changing in Europe, particularly the political scenario, right? It is getting more, it is you can say the pendulum is going or tilting more towards far right, and the return of Freedom Party of Austria in power indicates that that far right parties across Europe are rising up, and this is visible in France. Of course, in France we know that Marine Le Pen's party has not won, but her share, or the party's share in the parliament, has gone up, and same thing applies in Germany, Netherlands, and other countries as well. Now, one thing that is common between all these far right European parties is that they are anti-immigrant. They believe that these immigrants, the people who are coming from different parts of the world, particularly this African and Middle East people, after this Syria and all this crisis, they think that the people who are coming from different parts of the world, or immigrants, right, they are taking away or snatching away their jobs. And how it happens is that in European countries you have just like our country, right, but over there implementation is very strict. You have this minimum wage thing, right? So at least you will get, say for example, €5 for 1 hour job, roughly, something like this, right? 5 or 10 euro, something. Anyways, €5 per hour you get. Now the person who is an immigrant, who is here in Europe, to make some money, because back home he or she is not able to make any money at all for various different reasons, so this person will be ready to work for €3 per hour as well, or many a times €1 or €2 as well, right? So of course, as a businessman, you will think that if I can get the job done by paying less money to a person who is ready to do it at this rate, then you will of course give this person a chance, and in this way it will create a sort of disturbance in the whole economy, because the local people, of course, they cannot do this thing. They cannot lower their way of life, right? So this is something is creating problem, or anti-immigrant hatred is going up, and then they have extreme nationalism and Euroscepticism as well. This far right parties, they are saying that we should get rid of European Union and things like that. So it is a bit dangerous situation for Europe. If this parties, right, if they take over, then it is going to create some problems for India as well, because European Union is one of the biggest trading partner of our country. With this, there is an interview of a pioneering computer scientist who is working on artificial intelligence since last 30 years. So the things that are being said by him are very important. Some of them, right, the other things that I mentioned in this interview are very basic, so I'm not going into all those details. If you want, you can have a quick glance over it. Now what he is talking about, he's talking about learning, right? How these things, or this artificial intelligence will work. It is about trial and error. So you insert one thing in it, then you find that it's not working very well, then you know that this thing will not work very well, so you try something else, and in this way the process of learning and relearning, that's how you make this artificial brain, or you can call it artificial intelligence, more and more intelligence. It is also talking about job losses that will take place because of artificial intelligence. Now, of course, many people are going to lose their job because of the introduction of automation and things like that. But we have to keep in mind that it will create many jobs as well. When we got rid of this horse carts, and when we were slowly migrating towards car, at that point of time many people lost a job in USA, but many jobs were generated as well, because your car requires servicing and it requires oil, so you have to set up your engine oil producing company and packaging, and so there were many jobs that were created. In the same way, nowadays we know that after the introduction of computer, many new jobs about which we cannot we were not able to think as well back in 1980s or 90s or even in 2000, right? These jobs, we find it here, isn't it? People blogging, and you have many people who are graphic designers, right? They prepare graphic for different companies online, and website creating, and there are many things. I'm sure if you sit down, then you will have a long list of new types of jobs that have came into existence in recent past. So that's everything about this AI. Nothing out of the box that we can see here, and we have talked about artificial intelligence before as well, and in future if we find something interesting, then of course we will break it down. With this you have last editorial. This one is about Chile, and Chile is a country in South America. It is in news for political reason again. As you know it very well that the Hindu is not published solely for students preparing for competitive exams, right? So many times you find some things that are not that directly relevant to your examination, but we can, right, get something. At least we should try to take out whatever we can. So here, this is the capital of Chile, and you can see here it is very strange, isn't it? This country is it's very narrow, and it's a bit long in this way. So all the construction that you will find in this Chile will be in this line. That's how it is. One of my teacher, he has been here, and that's what I have heard from him back to 5-6 years, 3-4 years ago. He told me about how he went Chile, and how strange it is that you find that cities are designed in a very particular way. The other thing is, you can see South Pacific Ocean here. A couple of days ago there was a question for you regarding this Andes mountain range that you find here, right? The longest mountain range in the world, that is Andes mountain range, you find here. Argentina was in news for World Trade Organization meeting that took place here. So you know that we have been here. The map was been shown to you. So they share a border with each other, and because you have mountain here, so what happens is that this mountain, all the winds that are blowing from this side, right, moisturous wind, they leave there, or the rainfall takes place in this portion, and when these dry winds are passing over the mountain, they take away whatever moisture is accumulated here, and because of that you find this desert Atacama, which is one of the driest place in the world, in this country called Chile. Apart from that, it is also mentioned here, these things are not mentioned here of course, but what is mentioned here, the political side, is that Pinochet was a president in this Chile, and if you go back to the history, if you go in the history of Chile, then you find that it had its military coup, and its president was killed in a radio station, and then that president's daughter took over this thing after a struggle, and her government was all about welfare policy and things like that. But at present the economy is not doing very well, and the main purpose or the main job of the government, the current government, is to ensure that the new government is to ensure that the economy goes up. And now with this, dear friends, let's see news item, right? Arun Jaitley has defended this special courts for politicians. He has said that as lawmakers we should lead in setting an example, and yes, they should, right? Because we know nearly 1,500 people are facing serious cases, criminal cases are against them, this representatives of people, MLA and MPs all together. So of course their cases should be sorted out ASAP. There is a special video lecture available on this particular topic. Do check it out. It is on our YouTube channel. And the Supreme Court has also directed the government to set up fast-track courts, so that cases that are going on against this representatives of people are sorted out within 1 year. With this, dear friends, USA's new national security strategy is out. It has considered India as an ally or a friend, and it sees China and Russia and Islamism as main threats. It also talks about this quadrilateral cooperation. Now, I have purposefully not provided you a map of the world and Quad countries. I want you guys to close your eyes, right, and think about this. Go through the picture that you have in your mind pertaining to these Quad countries. See where India is, right? The water that India is sharing with Australia. What is the name of that water? What is common between India and Australia in terms of ocean? What is common between Japan, Australia and USA in terms of ocean? Right? Why this countries, like why Australia is against, or why Australia is happy to join this Quad against China? How Japan and India together are working, the relationship, create an image, or recall the image of Narendra Modi and Shinzo Abe hugging each other, and news media people saying that this indicates that absolute good friendship between these two leaders. Why they are coming up together now, China rising up and things like that. Why USA is interested in this part of the world. What India is going to get out of its partnership with USA. These are the questions that you should ask yourself, right? And if you want, if you have some answers, if you think this is right, I'm not saying that you should be exactly right, but at least think about it, use some logic and think about what you know about this thing. And if you want, you can stick your views and opinions in the comment section of this video. I'd be more than happy to read things that are written by you guys, and let's see what you have, what do you understand by things that are going on with Quad and this new national security strategy. We know the erraticness of Trump, so is it something that we should blindly rely on USA, or we should be a bit careful when we deal with USA? With this, India has also said that we have some common objectives like terrorism, peace and security. And of course we know how Pakistan is being supported by China, and this is something USA is not happy about, India is not happy about. But on the same side, a couple of days ago it was in news that USA has decided to give $700 million to Pakistan. So these are the things that you should calculate. With this, dear friends, winter session is on, and what we find here is that opposition is seeking apology for this election campaign words or rhetorics, right? Again, very good example of waste of time of national hours. Center wants GST to be applied on fuel, petroleum products. We know that this is not, petroleum products are not falling under GST. And why Jaitley has said that it wants a consensus among the states before taking this fuel under GST, because VAT, value added tax, is collected by the states on this fuel, and that goes directly in the pockets of states. So this is something you have to convince states before doing that. There is a rise of ceasefire violation, right? And very sadly we have found two bodies, two soldiers' bodies, right? We know that they were lost. We prayed for them as well. Now we need to pray for them again, for their family members, and let's hope that the missing boys are safe and secure somewhere. Let's pray. You never know, so let's pray all together. With this, dear friends, nota, that is none of the above, is gradually going up, but the sad thing about nota is that it is not effective, right? Even if nota will cross the majority vote, then as well the person who has got majority votes, he or she will win rather than nota, or rather than re-election. So this is something this is a thing that needs a bit of change. China is not happy about USA's new policy. Of course, China and Russia they have together said that this is a Cold War mentality and imperialistic character. Northeast policy to aid trade with ASEAN. This is a trilateral highway through which we will connect our northeastern states with ASEAN countries, and this is a trilateral highway connecting Myanmar, Thailand and India together. Once we reach Thailand, then connectivity with other parts is good, so we can exploit this thing, and this will help in the development of our northeastern. When I say exploit, I'm not talking in a negative sense. Of course, it should be a win-win situation for ASEAN as well as northeastern part of our country. Center is planning to boost service export. We know that manufacturing is something that is seeing a sort of setback because of automation and things like that. But services, right, we can do good in services, and when it comes to medical services, India is quite good at it, and we can export these things. With this, you have a scheme here, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protsahan Yojana. These are its salient features. Of course, when you download this file, make sure you go through them. And last item is about CAG, Controller and Auditor General of India, has said that accounting procedure of 2015-16 is a bit it's having several flaws in it, like fiscal deficit and revenue deficit things, misclassification of revenue expenditure as capital expenditure, and vice versa is creating some sort of issues with this. I have questions for you guys. Consider the following statements. The Queen of England was proclaimed Empress of India in 1858. Statement number 2 is King George V and Queen Mary held at Delhi Darbar in 1911. Which of the statement or statements given above is or are correct? A 1, B 2, C is both, or D is neither. And 2 is Annie Besant was responsible for starting the Home Rule movement. And number 2 is founder of C is like Annie is the founder of Theosophical Society, or once she has been the president of Indian National Congress. You have to identify the right option identify which statement or statements is or are right, and identify the person that you can see on your screen. With this, dear friends, I end this discussion here. Make sure you check out StudyIQ.com for pen drive and tablet courses, many videos on our YouTube channel. I will share the PDF on my Facebook page as well as a Telegram channel of StudyIQ. Make sure you too share it with someone else. With this, I end this discussion. I will see you all soon. Enjoy your day, enjoy your studies. I will see you all soon. Jai Hind.